You were never supposed to hear this, and the reason is simple. If you truly understood how your body repairs itself, entire industries would collapse overnight. I am not talking about supplements, pills, or treatments. I'm talking about a built-in survival switch, so powerful it was once treated as forbidden knowledge, hidden in monasteries, buried in ritual, and later sanitized by modern science into something harmless and forgettable. But it is not harmless. It is dangerous to the wrong system, and that is why no one speaks about it the way I am about to speak to you. Right now, inside your body, millions of damaged cells should be dismantling themselves and rebuilding from the inside out. That process has a name: autophagy. The same process that won the Nobel Prize when scientists finally proved it exists. But what they did not emphasize is this: most modern humans almost never activate it. You are eating too often. You are breathing too shallow. You are never letting your cells feel the stress they evolved to require. And so the waste accumulates. Proteins misfold. Mitochondria rot. Inflammation becomes your new normal, and disease follows like a shadow. Ancient cultures knew this state was lethal. They described it as stagnation, internal decay, or blocked life force. They did not treat it with comfort. They treated it with controlled stress. Hunger, cold, stillness, and breath. Especially breath. Because breath is the one lever you can pull that instantly tells your nervous system whether you are safe, dying, or adapting. I am not here to relax you. I am here to wake you up. Because once you understand what this breath actually does at a cellular level, you will never breathe the same way again. You are not sick because something attacked you. That is the lie you were taught. You are breaking down because your cells are drowning in their own garbage, and no one warned you what happens when the internal cleanup crew never shows up. Autophagy is supposed to run like a night shift, silently removing damaged parts while you live your life. But in your body, that shift has been canceled for years. Endless meals, constant sugar, shallow breathing, zero metabolic pressure. Your cells never get the signal to clean house. When autophagy is off, damaged proteins are not recycled. They stack like rusted machinery in a factory that never shuts down. Mitochondria, your energy engines, become defective but are never removed. They leak inflammation, oxidative stress, and false danger signals into your bloodstream. Your immune system panics, hormones misfire, your brain fogs. Doctors give names to the symptoms, but they never touch the cause. Because the cause is not an invader. It is neglect. Here is the part that should scare you. Your body interprets constant comfort as decay. Evolution wired you to repair only under pressure. No pressure means no renewal. Every time you eat without hunger, every time you breathe shallow and fast, you are telling your cells, do not adapt, do not rebuild, just survive another hour. And survival without renewal always ends the same way. I want you to feel the urgency here. Disease is not sudden. It is the final stage of suppressed repair. Autophagy does not fail loudly. It fails silently, year after year, until one day the system collapses and everyone pretends it was unpredictable. It was not unpredictable. It was programmed. And in the next part, I will show you the exact scientific switch that decides whether your cells clean themselves or slowly poison you from the inside. When Yoshinori Ohsumi won the Nobel Prize, the world was told a clean, polite story. Yeast cells, microscopes, genes with complicated names. What you were not told is how brutal the truth actually is. Your cells are constantly making a decision: repair or rot. There is no third option, and that decision is made thousands of times a day, not by doctors, not by medicine, but by internal signals you generate without realizing it. Osumi discovered that autophagy is not random. It is a tightly controlled demolition process. When resources are abundant, the cell behaves like a spoiled empire. It expands, consumes, produces, accumulates. But when scarcity appears, something ancient wakes up. The cell seals off damaged parts, wraps them in a membrane like trash bags, and sends them to be dissolved and recycled. Old proteins become new fuel. Broken mitochondria are stripped for parts. The cell becomes younger by destroying parts of itself. That is the paradox most people cannot accept. Here is the image you must lock into your mind. Imagine a city that never shuts down its garbage system. Trash piles up in streets, toxins leak. Infrastructure collapses. That is your body without autophagy. Now imagine the same city during a controlled blackout. Non-essential systems shut off. Cleanup crews flood the streets. The city emerges cleaner than before. That blackout is metabolic stress. Autophagy is the cleanup crew. And here is the part textbooks whisper instead of shouting. Autophagy is blocked by comfort, high insulin, constant glucose, continuous oxygen without carbon dioxide buildup. These signals tell the cell, grow, store, do not recycle. The Nobel discovery proved the mechanism, but it did not protect you from misusing your own biology. That responsibility was always yours. Now you understand the machine. In the next part, I will show you why breath, not food, not drugs, not supplements, is the fastest way to pull the lever that forces this machine to turn back on. This is where everything becomes uncomfortable, because breath exposes the lie that you are powerless. Food takes hours to change your internal chemistry. Drugs take even longer. But breath rewrites your cellular instructions in seconds. And that is exactly why it was always hidden in ritual instead of taught in biology class, because once you understand this, you no longer need permission. Your cells do not measure time. They measure signals: oxygen, carbon dioxide, pH, nerve tone, and energy availability. When you breathe shallow and fast, you flood your system with oxygen, but flush out carbon dioxide. That sounds healthy, but it is a metabolic trap. Low carbon dioxide keeps blood vessels constricted, prevents oxygen from unloading properly, and tells your nervous system that resources are abundant and stress is low. In that state, the mTOR pathway stays active. Growth mode stays on. Autophagy stays locked. Now listen carefully. When you slow your breath, extend your exhale, and tolerate carbon dioxide instead of panicking against it, your internal chemistry shifts. CO2 rises slightly. Blood becomes marginally more acidic. Oxygen is released into tissues more efficiently. The vagus nerve activates. The sympathetic noise drops. And deep inside the cell, AMPK, the energy sensor, begins to override mTOR. That is the switch. Not mystical, not symbolic, biochemical. This is why ancient breath rituals feel difficult, almost threatening at first. Your brain interprets rising CO2 as danger, even when oxygen is sufficient. But evolution wired that discomfort as a signal of adaptation. When you stay calm inside it, your body receives a message it rarely hears anymore. Resources are limited. Repair is required. This is not hyperventilation. This is controlled deprivation, a simulated famine at the level of breath. And because it bypasses digestion, it reaches your cells faster than fasting ever could. In the next part, I will show you why this exact physiological signature appears again and again across ancient systems that never shared language, only biology. Here is the pattern that should make you uneasy. Civilizations separated by oceans, centuries, and belief systems all discovered the same thing, then wrapped it in different stories to protect it from misuse. Taoist adepts called it reversing the breath. Tibetan monks hid it inside inner fire practices. Spartan warriors embedded it in pre-battle breathing. Japanese ascetics sealed it in stillness. Different names, same physiology. And that is not coincidence. That is convergent survival knowledge. Look closely at what these systems actually did, not what they claimed spiritually. Reduced breathing volume, prolonged exhales, breath holds after exhalation, postures that compress the abdomen and restrict effortless inhalation, silence, hunger, cold. These were not random hardships. They were deliberate ways to create internal scarcity without external starvation. The body was tricked into thinking resources were low while the mind remained alert. That is the exact state that forces cellular recycling to activate. This is why these practices were never taught casually. They change metabolism. They suppress appetite. They sharpen perception. They reduce dependency. A population that can self-regulate energy and repair does not consume endlessly. It does not panic easily. It is difficult to control. So the knowledge was reframed as mystical, religious, or extreme, pushed out of daily life and into the margins. Modern science now stumbles into the same territory through fasting research, hypoxia studies, vagus nerve stimulation, and metabolic signaling. Different language, same discovery. Autophagy activates under controlled stress, and breath is the fastest, cleanest way to apply that stress without external tools. You should feel the weight of this, because what you are about to learn next is not theory or tradition. It is a precise protocol, exact timing, exact sequencing. Small mistakes matter, and that is why the next part was never written down clearly until now. Now I give you the protocol, and I want you to understand something before you try it. This is not relaxation breathing. If you approach it that way, nothing will happen. This is controlled metabolic pressure, delivered through breath, and precision matters, posture matters, timing matters, your attitude matters. Treat it casually, and your biology will ignore you. You begin seated or standing with the spine upright, not rigid, but uncompromisingly vertical. This alignment is not symbolic. It prevents the chest from compensating and forces the diaphragm to do the work. Mouth closed, tongue resting lightly against the roof of the mouth. Nasal breathing only. If your nose is blocked, that is already evidence of the metabolic state you are in. Inhale slowly through the nose, but only to about 70% of your maximum capacity. Do not fill the chest. Let the abdomen expand slightly, then stop. No strain. Immediately begin a longer, slower exhale through the nose. Let it empty fully, not forced, but complete. At the end of the exhale, pause. Do not inhale. This is the critical moment. Hold the breath out, calmly, without clenching, without panic. That pause is where the signal is sent. Carbon dioxide rises. Blood chemistry shifts. The brain protests. Ignore it. Stay still. When the urge to inhale becomes clear but not desperate, inhale gently again to 70% and repeat. Each cycle should take roughly 20 to 30 seconds. No counting. You should feel time stretch. Continue this for 7 minutes, not 5, not 10. 7 is the window where AMPK activity begins to dominate without triggering a stress hormone spike. Your body may feel warm. Your mind may sharpen. Hunger may vanish. That is not imagination. That is metabolism changing state. After 7 minutes, return to normal breathing, but remain still for another 3 minutes. This integration phase is not optional. It allows the nervous system to lock in the signal instead of rebounding back into comfort mode. Do this once per day, preferably in a fasted state, or at least 4 hours after eating. Do not stack it. More is not better. This is not endurance. It is precision. In the next part, I will warn you why this protocol is not safe for everyone, and why ignoring those warnings is one of the fastest ways to sabotage your nervous system instead of healing it. Now listen carefully, because this is where people get hurt by arrogance instead of healed by discipline. This protocol creates metabolic stress on purpose. That is the point. But stress is only medicine when the system receiving it is stable enough to adapt. If it is not, pressure does not heal, it fractures. Ancient systems always screened students first. Modern people skip that step and pay the price. If you are chronically under-eating, severely sleep-deprived, or already running on stress hormones, this breath can push you in the wrong direction. If you suffer from uncontrolled anxiety disorders, panic attacks, severe cardiovascular disease, or advanced metabolic illness, forcing carbon dioxide tolerance can amplify fear signals instead of calming them. The body does not care about your intentions. It only responds to context. Ignore context, and the nervous system fights back. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Many people are addicted to stimulation and call it vitality, caffeine, sugar, constant motion, shallow breathing. When you remove those supports, even briefly, the system rebels. Dizziness, emotional release, sudden fatigue. These are not signs the protocol is working or failing. They are signs you have been compensating for imbalance for a long time. This is why suppression narratives exist. It is easier to label something dangerous than to admit people are fragile. I am not telling you this to scare you away. I am telling you so you do not sabotage yourself. Start only when you are calm. Never force the breath hold. Never chase sensation. If fear spikes, you stop. Power comes from restraint, not domination. The breath must remain quiet. The face relaxed, the jaw loose. If you turn this into a contest, you lose. Understand this, and you understand why this knowledge was never mass distributed. A tool that restores internal regulation removes dependency, but only if used with intelligence. In the next part, I will show you the timeline, so you know exactly what changes to expect and when. And you do not mistake normal adaptation for danger or fantasy. You are conditioned to expect instant miracles or nothing at all, and that expectation blinds you to real biological change. Autophagy does not announce itself with fireworks. It alters trajectories. Subtle at first, irreversible if maintained. This is the timeline you were never given, because without it, most people quit too early or push too far. After the first session, the change is neurological, not cellular. Your breath will feel heavier, slower, more deliberate without effort. Hunger may disappear for hours. Mental noise drops. This is vagal tone shifting and glucose demand lowering. Nothing dramatic, but unmistakable if you are paying attention. Sleep that night often deepens, not longer, but denser. By day 3, inflammation signals begin to quiet. You may notice joints feeling looser, skin slightly clearer, or a strange sense of internal space. Appetite becomes more selective. Cravings weaken. This is AMPK activity increasing and insulin pressure decreasing. Autophagy is not fully dominant yet, but the door is open and the system is listening. By day 7, the shift becomes metabolic. Energy stabilizes instead of spiking. Brain fog lifts in layers. Emotional reactivity drops. This is where damaged cellular components begin to be recycled at a meaningful rate. Your body is no longer just surviving between meals. It is repairing between breaths. At 3 weeks, the change is structural. Baseline breathing slows. Resting heart rate often drops. Fasting becomes easier without force, This is the point where people realize they are not doing the protocol anymore. The protocol has changed them. Cellular cleanup is no longer an emergency response. It is part of your rhythm. Miss days and the effect fades. This is not punishment. It is biology. The system responds only to consistent signals. And now that you understand the timeline, there is only one thing left to decide. In the next part, I will challenge you directly, because knowledge without commitment is just another form of decay. Now you stand at the line most people never cross, not because they cannot, but because they refuse to choose. You already know what happens if you do nothing. You keep breathing the way you always have. You keep feeding the same metabolic loop. Your cells continue to accumulate damage quietly, politely, until one day the body demands attention in a language you can no longer ignore. That path requires no courage, only habit. The other path is uncomfortable, and that is why it works. It asks you to create pressure where comfort once ruled, to sit still when your brain demands escape, to tolerate signals you were taught to fear, to activate a repair system older than medicine, older than civilization, older than language. You do not need belief for this. Your cells do not care what you believe. They only respond to what you do. I am not asking you to try this once and forget it. I am challenging you to commit to 7 minutes a day for 21 days. No variation, no optimization, no excuses. Same posture, same breath, same restraint. Let your biology remember what it was designed to do. If you cannot give your body 7 minutes of honest pressure, then accept the consequences of constant comfort. This is where empowerment becomes real, not in information, in repetition, in discipline, in choosing repair over distraction. You now possess the same internal lever that kept humans alive through famine, disease, and collapse. Whether you pull it or not is no longer about science. It is about responsibility. You wanted the secret. Now you have it. What happens next is entirely on you.